There'll be new guidance for universities in England issued by the Department for Education.
You'd need to be earning £60,000 a year straight out of uni. And even at that rate of pay, you'd only be paying off the interest, not the actual loan.
Us to them is just a number, and all the tuitions that we pay is just a number.
Everything's handed in, everything's meant to be marked, but the current UCU boycott means that nothing is going to get marked until October.
Doing a degree at university for many young people is an important decision for their future. With the massive financial cost of studying, being sure you make the right choice can seem daunting. For many professions in medicine, law, and engineering, it is essential that you go to university to obtain a degree so that you can start your career in that specific field. However, when discussing how valuable a degree in film is, there's a large grey area of its importance to support your career ahead. As a film student myself, I can't help but wonder if I really need this bachelor's degree, or if it's something which is unnecessary for my growth to become a filmmaker in today's industry. That's why I've posed the research question: what does a film degree do to support your career opportunities in the film industry? My aim is to analyse quantitative data about the UK's film industry and universities, and collect primary qualitative research from professionals within the industry to draw similarities and contradictions between their insight and statistical data. My objective is to develop a video essay as a tool for young filmmakers to help them decide the avenue they want to take for their future. Firstly, it's important to understand the context of the film industry with respect to employment opportunities. The Department for Digital, Cultural, Media and Sport, or DCMS, is run by the government to publish statistics on the jobs within those sectors. As seen in Figure 1, we are presented with the number of jobs in those sectors in 2011 and 2019. The film industry is classified under the creative industries. As seen here, in 2011, there were 1.5 million available jobs across the UK. 8 years later, 2019 saw the largest increase in the workforce out of all the sectors, with a further 600,000 jobs, totalling to 2.1 million. However, not all of those jobs are specifically film-related. The British Film Institute, or BFI, published figures from 2021 showing that there are 106,000 jobs which are directly working on film video production, distribution and exposition. This means that a mere 5% of the overall jobs in the sector are in film, making it an incredibly competitive industry to break into. With this consistently more competitive field, earning a bachelor's degree has typically made you stand out to employers for many decades. The Higher Education Statistics Agency has published statistics on enrolment at university for media studies, and film production. In 2021, there were 30,500 new enrolments on those courses at universities across the UK, with just over half of these in film production and film studies at 15,200 people. From this data, assuming every student graduates, there would be 15,000 new graduates ready to find one of the 106,000 jobs in the industry. This means that 15% of the new workforce will be applying for jobs with a degree. This could arguably be a strength for people with a film degree breaking into the industry, as it presents to employers that you have shown a continued dedication to achieving a speciality, making you stand out from the majority. However, this does conflict with rates of employment for film graduates. Statistics from the AGCAS reveal that only a fifth of people with a film degree go into a job relative to what they've studied. With just over a quarter of graduates finding employment in retail, catering, and customer service, it begs the question, why are more of these people not getting jobs in a sector utilising their degree? As previously mentioned, the film industry is a very competitive space, so finding employment straight out of university is difficult for graduates, which may contradict my last point on how a film degree may be perceived as highly valuable to certain employers, because if that was the case, surely more graduates would have employment opportunities in the industry. This could, however, be due to employers finding people with practical experience on set more valuable than someone who has studied in a formal capacity. Statistics on the workforce have shown positive indications that continued growth and expansion in the industry are happening. Since 2012, the industry has doubled in size, with post-COVID numbers being the highest to date. The UK's film industry boosted the economy by a record-breaking £6.3 billion in 2022, presenting itself as one of, if not the best place to shoot films outside of Hollywood. Evidence of this is Warner Bros. Studios. Having had a large presence in the UK since the early 2000s with the Harry Potter franchise, they continue to shoot massive projects like Barbie and their upcoming DC films as well. These are positive signs that the major studios are establishing themselves in the UK, providing more opportunities for current and young filmmakers. These figures present lots of benefits in many aspects, but also drawbacks for the future of career opportunities for filmmakers. To gain a more well-rounded perspective on the industry and film courses at university, I've curated a list of questions to ask professionals in the industry, to help better determine how valuable a film degree is in the current climate of the sector. The methodology I followed to develop these questions was thorough, to ensure that if other people were to follow my process of development, it would have a repeatable outcome. Defining my objective was the starting point, which led to research and contextualization of the topic, to then narrow down the key topical areas. As I completed these sections, it allowed me to have a general idea of the questions I wanted to ask. However, these were brief and needed to be more concise to get the best responses possible. So, I prioritised them, in the order of importance I thought best, eliminating the redundancy of some of these questions. From there, I received feedback from my peers, which assisted in refining the questions further. The final stages were to present and organise them in a way which created a cohesive progression for the conversation, so that a journey is taken to further understand their point of view of film at university. I initially contacted John Bruce, Jackie Hallow and Paul Draper, who I've had contact with before. From there, Paul put me in contact with more local filmmakers, supporting me to gain a larger consensus on this topic. I'd like to mention how this is more evidence of how networking and support for one another in this industry are the keys for success at all levels. During this chapter, you'll hear various opinions and responses to the questions I made, alongside personal stories about the industry itself. I will interweave my opinion throughout, analysing what has been said and comparing it to my experience as a film student. This is the most vital part of the video. Please have an open mind and appreciate the various perspectives on this topic, to hopefully allow you to conclude how valuable a film degree is.
There is benefit for the right kind of for the right role, I guess, and certainly things like if you were into like script writing and a sort of writing degree and things, it teaches you how to kind of analyse written words and stuff like that. So I do think that side of it is actually probably is quite important for some people. And there's a lot of technical kind of aspects as well, if that's the route you go down to, like things like DOP and stuff like that. There are courses out there that are kind of designed for that, and I think that also is helpful. Personally, like my side of things, there's no real kind of courses that sort of, focus on that as like a unique skill or whatever. So I think something like mine is where I've ended up isn't necessarily something you would ever kind of learn it. You might touch on it briefly, and things like that, but not focus on it.
So I think you're going to need to get formal qualifications for that kind of technical work. I mean, it's just training on what it is and on how to do the thing. Also, I think principles of direction is important. If you're going to be a director, there's a lot of use in getting the fundamentals down and then figuring out how to not do them. If you don't want to do them, you can do something else. But as you need to know what they are in order to break them. Otherwise, you're just kind of being a little bit random.
Depending on what department you're aiming at or what you want to do, yes, definitely.
There is a clear consensus among these professionals that university can support your career if you are keen to specialise in technical areas, such as cinematography or directorial skills. These are areas which may take years to develop if you have to work your way up in the industry. So having the opportunity to understand your interests and define the area of film you want to work in before you start your career is truly a benefit of the university experience.
Because a lot of it now is turning into less about them being students and them being more about customers. The customer's always right, so whatever they do, they can kick up a fuss because they're paying. And that's legitimate in a way, but at the same time, it's just like the good ones will know, regardless of fees and regardless of what they learn or don't learn in uni, because they'll just have the talent and they'll have the instinct to just crack on. Like stuff that you've learned on a shoot or a short film that went totally wrong, you're never doing that again. Or a way a light works or a way a technique works and stuff like that. That's all really useful. And it's only through experience that you get that, really. So if you get the chance to do that in uni in terms of make stuff and learn stuff, great. If it's just on a more academic level of just like learning theory and academic stuff, that's still useful in a way, but you won't know until you get that. Put it into practice yourself in terms of experience, because you might know something, that doesn't mean you can do it. You know what I mean? When it comes to it. because life on set, and when you're directing in particular, you know, there's so much that can change, happen, challenge you. Even the most basic thing can, you know, turn your head upside down, you know, and really disrupt the day, you know, and disrupt other people. So that's just all experience. So that's the, you know, people should, if they're going to uni, they should use it for everything that is that it can give you. If it's got equipment, if it's got people who are as passionate about you, it's like, let's just make something at the weekend, let's just make something at the evening. Let's try out this. They've got a Super 8 camera, let's dig that out and just experiment with that.
Have some fun.
Oh yeah, exactly, yeah. So I think finding your tribe, as they call it, and then even if they're not in uni, just kind of just be selfish and think about yourself and just think, oh, well, I'm going to make the most of it here.
Yeah.
And I really get on with that tutor or whatever, so I'm just going to crack on
And just show your worth. Yeah.
But then once you graduate, it's just like, shit, what do you do then? So it's just like, you just do your best to get some work.
Yeah.
Keep doing your personal stuff, or just trying to keep on learning or improving, and opportunities will come your way, you know?
Yeah.
It was interesting to listen to all of that. And I would say my highlight with professional was we had the possibility, we were invited to the BAFTA roundtables. So that was an opportunity we had. They actually said, oh, if you want to, you can sign up, and then you just go to a roundtable. And there were big names on that roundtables, and that was really interesting because you actually could talk to them. You just were sitting there and you listened to them, and then after that you could ask your own questions. And I mean, like the editor of Quentin Tarantino was sitting there and stuff like that, and that was just really interesting because they also could obviously tell you how's Quentin working, you know, how's he actually doing his process during editing, what is happening while you. And that's for me. I hate editing. I hate sitting in a dark room for a long time. I'm just not the person for that.
Yeah.
So for me, getting that perspective and having someone like Shoemaker, who is an icon in this industry as a woman, was just really, really interesting and really lovely.
Even though I'm saying screenwriting is not a degree course, that's not to say that there's not benefits to going and to learning and to making the most out of going to uni if you want to go. I think from a personal point of view, I would have done it to have built my confidence and to have access to equipment or to have access to a community. And also the unis tend to have some industry access of some description. So agents visit, producers visit, that type of thing.
Yeah, occasionally.
So if you're coming from zero and you genuinely kind of don't know a way in, or you can't really figure out what to do, then I think uni would probably give you a lot of opportunity that way. You know, you can learn the basics of craft, which is always really useful, no matter what the discipline is, whether it's screenwriting or filmmaking. And you work to deadlines and you work to brief and you get stuff done. Some of it is difficult, some of it is easier, and you get to work with peers and form friendships and stuff. So all of this is a massive benefit. All the tutors I know are really passionate about helping the students and really committed to it. So that's really great. So you do have a nice support system.
Another positive aspect of a film degree is the environment in which you are situated as a young person. Being surrounded by like-minded individuals can enhance your confidence and passion for the subject matter, which can further your development as a young filmmaker. This can also create good networking opportunities down the line, as you can establish a rapport and reputation for yourself with people heading into the same line of work. As well as this, most universities have industry connections. Be that with the likes of Disney, Netflix, or local film production companies, there are always opportunities for work experience in some capacity, which people trying to get their foot in the door might not have access to as easily. Again, another positive for attending university.
Multimedia journalism, so I like the idea of an on-campus radio station.
All the equipment looked like really new, up to date.
I just like how different it is from what I'm doing now, and it's just a major step up to what I want to do in my career. Like it's a progression from what I'm doing at sixth form now.
Absolutely wonderful facilities, great staff.
I resonate with the majority of these points. I found that during my time in university, all of these discussed aspects have had a good effect on me. However, I believe that living independently has been the best part of my time at university. I've been forced to become more mature and independent, which has shaped the perspective I have on the career ahead of me and life as a whole. Finding my voice through study and looking after myself is something which I'm incredibly grateful for, which is down to making the choice of going to university. Tuition fees have been making headlines in the media for the past decade. Glenn and Paul speak on the financial implications of studying in the early 2000s, presenting that it's vastly different to the debt and interest which are accrued by students in more recent years.
I think that's the thing. Like back then, it cost, my fees, my tuition fees, or whatever. It was £1,000 a year. So I worked in a supermarket, and I paid it off within like a couple of months. So I didn't. I think you're right. If I was paying thousands of pounds and not getting anything back, I definitely feel aggrieved. But I think it felt a bit more casual back then. And I'm from Bournemouth, so I was going to, so it didn't feel like I'd moved to the other end of the country and I was just wasting money. I was kind of still living at home and kind of just pootling about. So
the increase in them came, when they were first brought in, it was like, you're allowed to charge up to, what is it, 6,000 whatever pounds, but you don't necessarily have to. And of course, all the universities suddenly went whack straight up to that amount of money. I mean, I go to Bournemouth University campus now; it's just entirely different to the way it was when I went there. And sorry to say, we had a grant, so I was given a grant that covered all my accommodation. So there was no tuition fees. We got a grant to live off, which most of us spent down the pub. We did have student loans. They came in, but they were super low rate, and I paid it off super early, and it wasn't a lot of money. Yeah. So I'm afraid, it's a much, much heavier decision now, because it does lead to lifelong debt in a lot of cases. Yeah. So it is a different prospect now. I think were I to be focused on media now and starting, I would have a good look at that, and I'd have a good look at all the things that you can do, without doing it. Yeah. It's not going to be a straightforward decision for a lot of people to just go like it was in my decade.
There has been a clear change in the dynamic of how universities are run since the Brown Review in 2010, almost tripling the cost of university tuition for new students. An obvious turner for attending university is the fact that the cost to study is so severe. This has created a far more worrying social concern, as people from poorer backgrounds can't afford to attend university, creating a massive social divide.
And I think there is a social issue here as well, because people from working and harder off backgrounds are really not going to want to do it, and you're stripping away a lot of talent. If it's only going to end up people who are rich being able to go to university, I think that's a terrible situation to be in. You're suddenly creating this just a class division that just shouldn't be there, which is why, for me, education should be like the NHS. It should be something that we all to contribute together with taxes to support as a way of enriching our nation and making it a better place to live. It's my soapbox.
This is a key aspect to appreciate before choosing to attend university. If you can't financially support yourself, the student loan often covers the cost of accommodation, but not money for bills, food and transport. The implications of this are telling, as it's essential for some professions to have a degree. Why spend ridiculous amounts of money for a career path you can access another way?
I'm afraid part of it is down to the conversion of education into big business. If I go into any university now, there's a Costa Coffee in there. There's franchises all over the shop. There's a web of money now that exists over campuses that basically does farm money, and I think it's a real shame.
Gaining a degree is perceived by many people as a certification of your intelligence and commitment to that area of study. However, Tim and John have conflicting opinions on how valuable a film degree is for young people.
You can get a degree and not know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. That's the bit, 100% right? Agree. Right. Yeah. So therefore, it can't act as any kind of
scale of how good you are.
Exactly. Yeah. It can't act as a form that kind of authorises you of a quality of some sort.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't do that, then you can't take any notice of it.
To be honest, I don't actually know that many people that have completed degrees that are working with us just now. Yeah. And it's certainly in no way. Weirdly, we take on a lot of people from maybe that have gone through like the BBC route and maybe have worked for the BBC for a couple of years or something like that.
Yeah.
So I am not entirely sure how they hire. But I do think that they will do it more on a kind of prove yourself to them with some evidence or whatever, but not necessarily a degree. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like a show reel of some kind, or just an interest or kind of some kind of written evidence or whatever that why you should get the job. So yeah, it's weirdly not. It's not something, and actually we tend to hire people that have had a bit of experience elsewhere rather than totally fresh out of uni.
Yeah.
But also, flip side of that is we will get occasional people that will write into us, say I've finished a degree and I'm looking to get into it, and we would usually kind of push them to an external kind of source to go and seek some kind of real entry level work somewhere else, maybe at a smaller company or something like that.
The perception that a film degree doesn't fully qualify every individual which has graduated is a strong one. I personally agree with Tim. There are a handful of individuals on my course which are well below the anticipated standard of what you believe to be university work. However, there are also people on the course producing work which is near or at a professional standard, so across the board there is a various amount of talent and passion in students. As John mentions, he personally knows nobody at his place of work who has a film degree, also stating that there is no reliance on having one for employment opportunities. Again, reinforcing the fact that the industry doesn't see a film degree as a certificate of graduate's capability. That does present the importance of work experience and evidence of your own work through a showreel or portfolio. These elements can be achieved through university very easily. Unfortunately, in my experience, not all students strive for the best possible work, making it hard to collaborate on these projects. There are many stereotypes and stigmas of film students, with such a varied attendance of passionate people pushing towards a successful career, and many there just to get a degree to their name. It does cause lots of generalisations to be cast upon students like myself.
Into Bournemouth, I've made myself available to the unis to go. I'd be happy to do some teaching. So I got to glimpse some of the experience of what the students are going through and what they're learning and stuff. So that was an interesting thing for me, because I came from like use your own initiative and get on with it.
Yeah.
And whereas the students, I think, not all of them obviously, but there was a sense of, not entitlement, but a sense of like, because they were at uni in film school or learning maybe even screenwriting, that work would happen for them immediately as they graduated, or because they're paying for uni as well. It's just like a certain, I say entitlement is not the right word, maybe just a kind of a higher expectation of like things will happen, but it's not a guarantee of anything.
No.
To me, it's just about, you've got to feel that energy from people, you know. It doesn't matter which route they've come, they've just got to have the energy, you know. There's it's so irrelevant to the to it. Do you see what I mean? I think the only sort of, I suppose, like the worst of the worst, I think, is the people not like yourself, the opposite of yourself, that they've got their degree and they think that has got them the ticket, you know. So we're kind of wary of those individuals. We know a few lecturers and around the UK and stuff, and, you know, that's the stories that you hear, that there's some sort of quite entitled people, you know, just like, when do I get to direct, you know, a Netflix show.
The reality of becoming a graduate film student is unfortunately not perceived positively by all employers in the industry. This could be a telling reason for why employment for postgrads getting into the industry is so low, as I discussed earlier in the video. In many aspects of life, the minority ruin it for the majority. I personally believe that's the case to some degree here. From my experience, there are a lot of egocentric individuals who are hard to work with and act entitled at such a young, uneducated age, but there are also many of my peers who are well-rounded, mature and educated young filmmakers, so this is a double-edged sword. As a final note from the industry, here are some of my favourite stories and quotes from the interviews I've done.
Here's a good story, right, that the DOP I've just worked with on Shetland, Alistair Boyce, his name is, a Scottish guy. He was telling me how he got into it, and he got into it by, he was from right up north of Scotland, and had, what did he say? I think he said he went to university in Inverness to study graphic design, and really hated it. And then there was like a TV programme getting filmed up in Ullapool, which is kind of right up the north, and he went down just to look at they're filming locally, this is cool. And he saw the camera operator with the, I think he was on a Steadicam, did he say, or something, it doesn't matter, but he was like, oh, yeah, man, I think that's what I want to do. So he got somebody on the set to introduce him to he just like boldly asked somebody, could you introduce me to that guy? I'd like to see what he does. And that's how he got into it. Basically, he met the guy, and then I think by being kind of chatting for whatever, a couple of minutes probably, the guy invited him back to come and do you want to come for a shoot day?
Oh wow!
And things, and he got into that way, So his was totally self-made because he had the kind of he knew he saw an opportunity, and went and thought, I'm going to try and that's what I want to do. I'm going to try that.
Yeah, no,
say one of the alternative paths is just to try doing stuff, and there's plenty of people who have just tried to start making films and learn on the way. Ray Bradbury, one of my favorite authors, sadly passed now, said just jump off the cliff and build your wings on the way down. And I think there's a lot to be said for that.
One of the best writers from Bournemouth University, but we know quite well, doing well, lots of good shows and stuff like that. She didn't finish the degree because she got too busy working to do the final year.
Yeah.
And I think everyone should have that ambition. They're so busy hustling and doing stuff. I haven't got time to go back and write my dissertation because I'm working on stuff.
You said successful individuals who did not pursue film degree.
Yeah.
Christopher Nolan, Wes Anderson, James Cameron, Stanley Kubrick, Quentin Tarantino, Tim Burton, Greta Gerwig, Steven Spielberg. None of them successfully went through film school. So there's a whole bunch of people there. Tarantino said, I didn't go to film school, I went to films. And that was the way he learned. So.
Before I conclude this topic, I'd like to present some of the opinions currently held by third-year students on my film course, as their insight is helpful to understand real university experiences. I specifically asked them to be brutally honest on their feelings towards university, the same way I asked industry professionals to answer my questions. Any level of censorship on this topic I believe to be an injustice to the research I have carried out over the past 3 months. This allows me to give the best, unfiltered advice to support young people in making their decision on whether university is right for them. Through my time researching this topic, I've educated myself on the reality of the film industry in the UK, which has supported my understanding of the path I'm going to take after I finish university. There is almost a balance of pros and cons to the university experience, but the overall feeling I've gathered from the industry itself is that a film degree is not essential for increasing employment opportunities. However, as a young person seeing the prospect of university as a time to develop their voice and educate themselves on subjects they care about, it really can support the outcome of impressing employers from a personal standing. This industry is so brutal, so by showing respect and understanding to everyone you meet and creating good networking links, that is what is essential to your success, with a degree or not. One aspect I can say for certain is that the film industry in the UK is expanding at a fast rate. There are going to be more jobs available in the coming years for young filmmakers as the sector expands. The government is on board with this increased interest in the UK film industry, providing £500 million to support film productions after the effects of COVID-19, and also giving tax relief to animated film productions. This is something which positively impacts any filmmaker, current or new, degree or no degree, the UK is on a fresh trajectory to creating one of the best hubs globally for filmmakers. There is no way that I can come to a definitive conclusion on how valuable a film degree is to support your career ahead, as it's your career, your future, and your decision to make. Everyone is different, not one person is the same, so take your time to find what's best for you. These next steps are difficult, but I hope my video essay will assist you in making a confident choice for the life and career ahead of you.